Alright, and it's taking me a little bit to kind of make this video, but I think I'm doing it at the right time because of our head coaching situation and free agency has kind of ended. Pete DeBoer really dug his own grave at the coaching position with the Oettinger situation, and it seemed to also turn the rest of the players against him a little bit, and vocally. He seems to have this cap everywhere he goes, a limit of getting to the Western Conference Finals, and he has a cap of staying places around 3 years. That's also just, especially nowadays, how we see the longest we see coaches stay NHL teams, unless they're just really, really good for a long time, and like Paul Maurice will probably be. The players seem to have been the ones that vocally spoke out against DeBoer, at least a little bit. Not only with that, I think Jim Nill thought it might be time to go another direction because especially the first and last conference finals, we've gotten outplayed badly on special teams, which you could say is a little bit of a coaching situation. And really both years you could say this, but last year or this year, last playoffs, like that just happened, we I think every Western Conference Finals game didn't score once and we're pretty much trailing the whole time. And to me, we didn't score once first. That's a coaching issue in my opinion. It doesn't seem like we came to play, and especially the last game when Andre gets pulled, that defense was horrid. That second goal was not his fault. That's another reason why I really think him getting pulled is tough. And then the Perry score, that is his shot. That is what he's almost patented at this point. He has scored 1,000 goals, exaggerated, at this point right there, and to me, that's just a coaching issue. They weren't ready to play. They were sleeping on a power play even. And it's just... And then when we get to the X's and O's, man, our zone exits and zone entries were just horrid. We were doing the most plain, either dump it out or dump it in, hit it across the boards. Hopefully someone forechecks or gets to it first. It was the most basic things because honestly, I think the board just didn't want to make anything risky, make anything that could hurt them with McDavid and Draisaitl, which makes sense for some teams. But McDavid and Draisaitl, especially when you're taking the penalties you are and not scoring on your power plays, you have to go and find something because they are going to get theirs. And again, that to me is a coaching issue. We were just out-coached, We were so predictable that Edmonton never even had to think about the chance of us doing something through the middle or just even something scripted. About the only time was whenever we'd have a power play or a penalty kill, and it was the worst scripted plays possible because they didn't work. Besides that, that's in the past. Pete DeBoer he's gone. He's not getting a coaching job this cycle until next year starts, and maybe the first fired head coach he becomes, but we will see, and I'm sure he'll do great there. I want him to do great. I wish we could have won. It just wasn't meant to be. We also just weren't as physical when it came down to it, and that was pretty evident. Hopefully, with this offseason and some, not many additions, but some additions like Fosca, I'm welcoming him back for our third and fourth line, and we'll see some growth in a few players, especially Liam Bichelle. He is a 6'7", 235 to 245, and a freak on ice. the way he moves at that size. It is just incredible. In between all this, I think something I have to say is I have a whole lot of faith in Jim Neal. He is a deserved 3-time GM of the year, and I think everything he does, he thinks out very hard and gives it time and goes to the people that are smarter than him even. And I'm very excited for our new head coach, Glenn. I wasn't old enough to really remember when he was here before, but Glenn, and I see some people very skeptical, but I just want to say he not only seems to come in here with the right mind, but he is so much more experienced and seasoned. It's been almost 12, 13 years since he's coached here, and he not only has grown, but he has gotten to be on a good, very good team that has gone to the finals the last 2 years, and he's coached the best 2 players in the last 7 years. And he has handled them, and he's done the power play, and he has done incredibly well, especially against the Stars. And I think that is something to also note is he will come in here knowing that he has scouted our weaknesses and our strengths, and he knew how to stop our strengths, and go against our weaknesses. And so for him to come in here and tell us what we did wrong and what we did right and what we need to keep doing, what we need to change, what needs fixed, I think he will give us a perfect model of what we need to become. And honestly, I'm kind of glad it's not one of the same 5-10 coaches in the NHL that get turned and turned over. And I'm excited for someone kind of new, someone fresh, someone that is honestly deserved. And my only other option would have been Neil Graham, and he gets to stay as your assistant, and he is definitely like the assistant being groomed for the head coaching job, and I think that's perfect. I think it gives him time to finally get behind an NHL bench and learn things while also being the top assistant running the power play, running the offense, and he gets to be with some of those guys that he taught in the NHL for so long and has good relationship with. And I think this is just the best thing possible. You get to keep your defensive coordinator, your defensive assistant head coach who runs the penalty kill. That was one of the best, if not like the second best behind the Hurricanes, and defense, which wasn't great, but that's kind of what you have when Miro's out for so much of the season. So I'm optimistic. I'm excited. I think this was the right hire. I think Jim Neal knows what he's doing. And another thing is through the conferences that I watched, Glenn Gulutzan, he said all the right things. Not only did he employ physicality, he talked about what it takes to be in the finals and what this team needs to gain. And he talks about how you need to be more physical, you need to win the battles against your opponent. But he also, like I said, ran the power play. And I think, this is just in my dreams, Rantanen is going to fill that Draisaitl role to his own abilities, kind of match it into his game. But he's going to be that one-timer, and hopefully he can get back to being that star, that top 10 player, top 5 player he is and can be. I know he was traded twice. I know he didn't get a whole lot of time to be with the team. But with an offseason, with the preseason, with the full year, I'm so excited for what he can do. And I know he'll be worth every $12 million he will be earning. The more prepared you are, that's what builds confidence. I know it's media talk, but I just talked about how they weren't ready, and that's a coaching thing. And Glenn Gulutzan he knows it. That's what he just said. And I know it's media talk, but I think he really means it, and he understands that's what this team needs. He wouldn't just be saying it if we came out the most prepared and scored twice on the other team every time. That is something we obviously were lacking, something he sees, and something we need to work on. I guess that's pretty much it. I think I've kind of thought everything about the Stars. I love some of the stuff. We were so limited against the cap. I know losing Marchment sucks, and you kind of have to do that for bringing back Duchesne on a great deal, which I love bringing him back. You bring back Fosca. You are able to bring back some of the lower depths on those 700,000 contracts or the million contracts. I love the contract for Ben. You keep that experience, you keep that leadership and a new coaching staff. That is just I think it's all coming together to really work, and it just be a smart, well thought out way to bring this team back together after getting rid of your coach and going in such a different direction than we were even just this point last year without having Rantanen and with having Pete DeBoer. And I'm excited. Like I said, I have just so much faith in Jim Neal. He got those awards for a reason, and I'll be watching the first time they hit ice for the regular season, and I need to stop saying and. Thank you for watching. Bye.